I'd like you to imagine for a moment that you are standing right where I am at the edge of this stage, facing the back of the room. And in between you and the wall, there's a giant flat surface that's got black and white squares on it. On the other side of the surface stands these giant figures in front of you, some of them with faces, but some of them without. Some of them have this menacing stare gazing towards you, but others don't. They're just kind of pointless obstacles in the way. But through a gap, you can see that there is a door, and you know you're supposed to get there, but you've got no idea how. So as you try to inch yourself towards that first black square in front of you, you begin to panic when you realise that you yourself are nothing more than a stoic piece in this chess game called life, with every single move and every path strategically manipulated and arranged. Now, when I was 12 years old, I gave a speech called Life is What You Make It. And in the introduction of that speech, I used this analogy to explain to my friends and peers that sometimes life isn't always black and white and things don't go to plan, but that no matter what obstacles we may come up against, we can choose to make decisions and overcome them to create futures of success and happiness. I can still picture this young, wide-eyed girl wearing an oversized blazer with her curly hair bundled up in ribbons on top of her head, and a naive optimism about the world in which she lived. But that's okay, because one so young in the world should really only have to look at the future with hope. But what I didn't know at 12 years old, and what we only learn throughout our lives, is that actually, sometimes, life is what makes us. Things happen which we can't control, and we just have to try and put the pieces together and create something wonderful. Now, the Japanese have been doing something similar with broken pottery and ceramics for hundreds of years through the art of Kintsukuroi, which is the reparation of broken things with gold or silver lacquer to enhance the beauty of this broken piece. Kintsukuroi. Now, to us, this may be a foreign practice, but when you think about it, it's a universal concept. Because we, you and I, are Kintsukuroi art forms. Our very existence in this broken world promises us that we are going to be battered and damaged and scarred by life's hard knocks. Perhaps we might fall ill or experience the death of a loved one, lose our job, lose our home, be abused. It doesn't matter what it is, but for a time we become spectators on our own lives, watching in slow motion as we fumble and stumble, trying to catch our dreams and hopes as they fall from our hands and shatter to a million pieces at the earth beneath our feet. And when this happens, it might be very difficult for us to come to terms with the fact that things aren't black and white. That instead we are walking through a valley of grey, of grief and despair. And what it can be hard for us to understand is that all along we walk through this place upon a golden path, a path which traces our pain and our sorrow, sealing the cracks in the pavement and allowing us to walk into the light. Through this process of allowing our pain to strengthen us, we can become human Kintsukurois. Now, I didn't learn this overnight, and I certainly didn't learn it passively, and like many of you, I'm sure, I experienced things which no amount of chocolate consumption or wailing on the floor ridiculously listening to Adele could solve, although I did try that for quite a time. But you don't necessarily have to have experienced hardship to perhaps feel that our world is too broken for us to fix it with some sort of a magic golden glue. It doesn't necessarily work like that. But if we can come to an understanding that every single person on this earth is fighting some sort of a battle and putting on a brave face, then that is how we can become a human family. Sure, maybe a dysfunctional one, but a human family all the same. I have had the privilege of working with hundreds of young people through my involvement with various community organisations, and presently in my role as the coordinator of social justice at my former high school, St Aloysius College. And it was through this role that I was given the opportunity to visit India at the start of 2015 with an organisation called Stop the Traffic, which provides educational resources to empower individuals to take action against human trafficking. And I went on this journey expecting that I was going to have amazing opportunities to learn and bring back great project ideas for all the students at home. And that happened. But something else did too. On February 14th, the day before my 21st birthday, I left Australia as one woman, and in March, I came back as another. I learnt about why I'd been born, the meaning of the lessons I'd already learnt, and what to do next. Have you ever had a Band-Aid on and you've gone to take it off thinking that the cut was healed, but you realise you just need to put another one straight back on there because it's been weeping beneath the surface? Well, the Band-Aid that was patching up the most broken and fragile parts of me was lifted, and something as simple as the touch of a child's hand, or singing a song, or doing a drawing with one of them, formed this sturdy bandage of golden resin which wound its way around my heart. And it showed me that I can be healed too. It taught me about our two underrated superpowers as human beings, of solidarity and recognition, and that through these superpowers, we can overcome any barrier and learn to understand each other. We may not necessarily know what it feels like to be a teenage sex slave living and working in a Mumbai slum. We may not necessarily know what it feels like to live in something that's the size of a tin shed, half the size of this stage, with nothing but tarp for a roof and flimsy cardboard for a door. But all of us at some point of our lives will know what it is to feel as small as a thimble and as fragile as the homes in which these people live. Because evil is so present in our world that if you're unfortunate enough, it will stare you directly in the eyes and tell you that you are nothing. If you are one of the millions of people trapped in sexual slavery or abused, that voice will specifically tell you that your body is nothing but a disposable plaything to be used in servitude and stripped of all dignity. While we were in India, I met people who had experienced such tragic outcomes, and I couldn't understand how they would possibly overcome it. We met people who, despite their own circumstances of poverty and neglect though, reminded me of the beauty in the broken world, because although they've experienced such trauma, they are trying to help other people overcome theirs. And some of these people worked for an organisation called Oasis, which rescues people from human trafficking and helps them to develop skills and build a new life. As a Christian organisation, one of their activities is to go out into the red light district of one of the biggest slums every day and pray. And we were asked to go with them on this journey, and I really felt challenged by that, thinking, how could there possibly be a God or any goodness in the world when standing right in front of me is a 12-year-old soliciting a man perhaps double her age? I felt like a human soft drink bottle that had been violently shaken up with all of these bubbles rising to the surface. And in those bubbles were feelings of solidarity and recognition which I didn't expect. We'd only been in the red light district for a short time when a young woman caught my gaze. She was about my age and she smiled. And then she walked over to our group because the Oasis worker had known her in the past. And she said something. She spoke to me in two languages, one which I didn't understand and one which I understood very well. The Oasis worker translated, telling us that she loved my curly hair. So I responded by telling her I thought her dress was beautiful. I spoke to her in two languages, one which she didn't understand and one which we both understood perfectly well: humanity. She came up to me and she started touching my face like this, and she was pulling the ringlets which had gathered around it before moving her fingers up my ears to see where we'd both had them pierced before. I was filled with sadness, but gratitude, because I thought about all she'd been through and all she would go through, and I thought about what this moment was, that both of our lives, despite different experiences, had led us to a precious moment taking place in one of the worst parts of the world. I was looking into the eyes of my sister. But behind her smiley facade, I saw a troubled soul. Her eyes were dead, revealing the lie of the happiness that she portrayed. And I thought of all the people in my own life who, despite their own circumstances of troubles and sadness, overcome this with bravery and strength on a daily basis. Because sometimes all we can do is survive. And this young woman was a truly dignified survivor. Behind her eyes, I saw a universal pain, a pain that I knew, the kind that we numb to prevent ourselves from smashing into a million pieces at the floor beneath us. We numb it because it's sometimes the only way that we know to go on. She taught me what it was to be a human Kintsukuroi, and that if we are never broken and repaired, how can we possibly hope to master those superpowers of solidarity and recognition? I'd like you to, again, imagine that you are standing right where I am, facing the back of the room. But in between you and the wall, there isn't this flat black and white chessboard. There's a sea of faces, some of them familiar, but some of them not. Some of them have the power to hurt you, to hate you, but all have the power to heal you, because all of them, all of us, know already what it is to be broken and repaired, and because of that, we are so much more beautiful. If we can enhance our flaws and our similarities, then that is how we become a human family. That is how we build a golden path towards that door at the back of the room, through which lies a world where humanity is the language and compassion is the rule. Would that not be the most beautiful Kintsukuroi to ever exist? That shouldn't just be an idea. That should be our reality. Thank you.